Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Eric. Today I'm going to talk about the 1990 film Total Recall, starring Arnold Schwartenegger, directed by Paul Verhoeven. This film was inspired, as the credits say, by the short story by Phillip K called We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. And the short story is about, in the future, the main character is this office drone type of person who dreams of having a better life, and there are these services available where you can have memories implanted into you with these extreme experiences, and which they claim are no as if you had actually lived through these experiences. Now in the short story, something goes wrong, and we get into themes of identity, themes of what is reality, what is dream, and also the idea of how malleable the idea of identity is. Now the film really sticks to those core concepts of reality versus fantasy, what's real, what's not real. It also expands the story quite a bit. A good portion of the film takes place on Mars, which I don't believe is in the Philip K. Dick short story. But anyway, the film, we start out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The character's name is Quaid. He works construction. Sharon Stone plays his wife. She's very good in the film. Well, maybe his wife. And he wants to move to Mars, where there's colonies on Mars, and he wants, for some reason, he feels this compulsion to go to Mars. Maybe recalls Blade Runner a little bit with there's references to colonialization in that film. Well, anyway, he goes to the recall service and sets up this experience where he's a spy on a mission with everything. And just as they're about to implant the memories into him, something goes wrong. They say he's having an embolism. They bring him out of it, and as soon as he leaves the recall center, it's as if he's in this spy adventure. Okay, where really it becomes a chase film, and we're really grappling with the question throughout: is what we are seeing real? Was Quaid possibly this former super spy who went by the name of Hauser and had all these adventures and is very much involved in intrigue? So the film leans both ways a little bit, where maybe this is real, all of it, or maybe, like I said, maybe we're all just seeing some elaborate dream Quaid is having due to his experiences at the recall center. So we don't know, but we do know as far as when he gets out of the center, he starts being chased by people. He gets home to Sharon Stone, his wife, and she's not who she says she is. She says they've only known each other 6 weeks, that his memory was erased, and that there's this whole intrigue going on that leads us the story to Mars, where you have a colonial project on Mars. It's partly a tourist type place, but also kind of it's become this hellish industrial place where they're mining materials that people need, and you have elements like mutants who live on the planet, people who were the original settlers, and the toxic air had messed with their genetic material. So you have Ronnie Cox is the head of it, and you have this very kind of corporate exploitative system happening on Mars, and Quail/Hauser appears to be part of this intrigue, whether he's helping the resistance movement on Mars or he's working for the corporation on Mars. So we get a lot of shifting loyalties. We're not sure if people are who they say they are, and the film is really creative with that, with a lot of chase sequences. Verhoeven's violence in this film, like with RoboCop, is it's just like a little bit more graphic. A lot of bloody incidents, a lot of squibs. People being shot. The body count in this movie is pretty high, as Quail/Hauser is going around, fighting people, and impaling people, shooting people, burning people. So people are being, disposed of in a number of different ways as, Verhoeven's really pushing the violence here. But I like how, as the film goes on, it continues to complicate whether what we're seeing is real or whether it's a fantasy, and I like how the film deals with that. Yeah, so supporting performances. Sharon Stone is really good in the film. Um, Rachel Ticotin is in the film. She was in The Running Man as well. She's really good as Hauser's possible wife, romantic interest in the film. So there's a lot of doubling in this film too, and the film does a good job of dealing with that. Ronnie Cox is really good as the as the evil corporate overlord of Mars. And Mars is presented, as I said, kind of like as this hellish landscape. It's everything is very red, almost blood red on the planet. So we get this sense of and the use of earth movers, like they're destroying, just ripping this planet apart, and we get the film, just that whole exploitation of things is something that the film does a good job of doing. Yeah, so this film was a big hit when it came out in the summer of 1990. It was a good vehicle for Schwarzenegger, who once again can kind of do different things in this film. He can play on his image. He can do the everyman, but he can also do the everyman versus the super spy persona, the Quaid Hauser persona, and he does a lot of outrageous things, like he's wearing a dress during one action sequence, or he's still doing the one-liners. He he's getting to do a lot with his persona, and I think that plays into the whole film's theme as well, as far as, is Quayle really a super spy or this everyman? And Schwarzenegger doesn't appear to be the everyman. Difficult for him to play. The Jerry Goldsmith score is I like how the score works in this film, where it has this orchestral sound, but it's also industrial at the same time, and there's just so many flourishes in the score where it really plays into the film, to the themes of the film, where is what we are seeing real or not real, and the music does a great job of reflecting that. Like the score almost sounds like something you'd hear in like a car commercial or something, where there is something almost fake about the music in the film, and I feel like that was intentional. The industrial sound, the overwrought flourishes of the orchestra. So I thought the score really did a good job of reinforcing the themes in the film, and it would really start a trend in the 90s of what is reality. A lot of science fiction movies would deal with that, and of course that had always been a preoccupation with films. The idea of watching a film itself is, because what we're watching on screen, of course, isn't real, right? The whole idea of watching a film is like dreaming in some ways. But in the 90s, as we're going into the more digital world, science fiction movies would really get into this question. Like, I think there's many good films to pair with Total Recall, but I think like the Cronenberg film Existenz is a good one to pair with this, where that film's about a video game where people can use virtual reality to take part in this very elaborate video game, and once again lines blur as far as what is reality and what is the video game world. Of course, The Matrix would deal with that probably in the most populist way. The Matrix would deal with that question, and I think virtual reality, or VR as they say, would become a big part of the 90s of, what if you can become the hero of your own story? What if you can manipulate reality? Or maybe if you can't manipulate reality, what about corporations or governments or whatever being able to manipulate how we perceive reality. Okay, are we looking for real reality, or is the simulation of reality, like the Matrix gets into? Like, and this film too, a Total Recall, like all these adventures that Hauser slash Quayle is having, is that just a simulation? Is it just some wish fulfillment fantasy that we're witnessing? Now, with this film, I kind of lean on the side of what we're seeing is not real, because even the ending of the film where he saves everything, it has this almost ending that feels really too perfect. And I like how the film, keeps exploring that idea. But be talking about that a lot as we go through the 90s, as far as stories blurring that line between what's real and what's not real, and what's preferable. Is the simulated world preferable to the real world, and what does that mean for the future? So great questions. Total Recall is, yeah, I think it really holds up well. I think it's aged quite well, actually, and the visuals of it are strong. It's just a really compelling vision that Verhoeven brought to it, and really, I think the film really holds up well. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Total Recall, a film that really, I think, sets the tone of 1990s science fiction as we move forward. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one.